Their dear guest and friend Bessam الشماع talking about political life in Egypt, in ancient Egypt, democracy, justice, and
it is a good word you mentioned, democracy. Democracy, because it's a Greek word, right? Demotikos.
Yes.
Demos, the people. Deme, the people. And then we find out that there were some political effects and influences from ancient Egypt into Greece. Hundreds and hundreds of years, but thousands of years before Greece was called Greece, you were showing some cases of democracy in ancient Egypt, like the one that we just mentioned and the second one that we are talking about now. Ramesses III, the king, was not mentioned in the text of the revolution of 1155 BC.
Of the workers.
But in one case, when one of the workers stood up in the middle of the revolution, in the middle of the strike, and he mentioned the name of the king with anger, and he protested in a way that if they were not given their salaries, okay, and their rights, he would go and destroy something. Here we now are exceeding the red line. We are now trespassing. We are going to the other side of violence. And that is a word I never mentioned in the last, 50 minutes, right? In all the cases we just talked about, we never mentioned
violence.
New
Kingdom?
Yes, Ramesses III, New Kingdom. You're right. So, the text is telling us that this particular worker was the text is telling us about this one. Only one person did that, which I think is very civilized. He was taken. that was the case. He was taken, punished, and back. So for sure he was not executed or something, right? But he was punished because he kind of sweared, if you like, bad words, or sweared in a different way. But in the middle of all this group of protesters, one person only. Now, did you notice that I didn't tell you that one of them threw a stone on the statue of the king, for example? I didn't mention that. I didn't mention that they went all and they pushed the obelisk of the king, for example. Or they went inside the temple after they have shaken the gate. They didn't do that. So the authorities ran to them. What are you doing? Are you out of your mind? Did you lose your marbles? You leave your job in the Valley of the Kings. You are the best paid. And I'm trying to read between the hieroglyphs, not between the lines.
The best paid, and they couldn't find bread.
So what about
the rest of the people?
The rest of the people. See, now you are with me reading between the hieroglyphs, or reading between the hieratics, or reading between the demotics. So they said, okay, what's wrong with you? We didn't get paid our seeds. What? You didn't get paid your seeds? No. Since when? Please write this figure. Since 18 days. 18 days. What does that remind you of? What does it remind you of? 18 days.
Yes, but people were getting paid their salaries at the time.
During that 18 days, you are talking about 2011?
People were getting their salaries.
Oh yeah. Or not. Or they were not happy with their salaries. And that's why it became Fawiyah afterwards, right?
Okay.
Now, so they said, but there is no seeds. You know this business of, like, tourism is bringing 70 billion Egyptian pounds. Suez Canal is bringing, I don't know how many billions Egyptian pounds, and you are telling me to squeeze the belt, squeeze the belt, squeeze the belt, using, of course, the Egyptian proverb, or the Egyptian sentence of squeezing the belt. If anybody who doesn't understand this sentence, or was not Egyptian, who's listening to us, this is a word that we use when we're trying to kind of restrict our payment a little bit, and expenses and spending and all of this. So we don't have any seeds, but we know there are seeds. How do you know there are seeds? There are seeds inside the shonat hieroglyphs. Shona, same word.
Shonat, yes.
Yeah, the shonat, and it's the same thing as the shona, the storage house of the seeds inside the temples. So we knew who was responsible for the seeds, but the high priests of the temples. Open the door of the storage, give the seeds to the people. It's the right. Why? You would ask yourself. Why the authorities did not give the people their salaries? We noticed that this revolution took place few months, before Ramesses III celebrates his Heb Sed, his festival. The Heb Sed is the festival of Sed. What is the festival of Sed? The festival is a jubilee where the king of Egypt, any king of Egypt, would celebrate his surmounting the throne of Egypt for the 30th year.
30th.
Please write this figure as well. 30 years of ruling. In the days of Ramesses III. All the seeds were going towards the celebration. All the seeds for the payment of the celebration. So the people were suffering and starving because Mr. King Ramesses III wants to celebrate his 30th year of ruling.
Ramesses the second.
Not the second.
The third.
Amazing man, by the way. Oh, amazing.
Definitely.
Military man, and his temple, Medinat Habu. Wow. You didn't go to Medinat Habu temple, you didn't go to a temple in ancient Egypt. For you to continue to complete the sequence of you visiting tours in Egypt, Medinat Habu. The last scream after 2 years.
Where is that?
The revolution,
Where is that?
Medinat Habu is the west bank of Luxor, not far away from all the other temples like the Ramessean and all of this.
Habu.
Medinat-
Let's talk about it once.
Oh yes, Medinat Habu, what an amazing building. The greatest building after Karnak in Luxor, yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, the revolution is still going on. I'm talking about 1155 BC. The revolution is still going on.
1213.
1213 as well. It's contagious.
Actually, they're saying the revolution hasn't started yet.
Oh dear. Well, let's see if history had any story with that. Both of you. I have to stop it. So, what an amazing thing, right? What an amazing story, because the last scream of rights and bread and fish and vegetables and fruits and linen. They were asking for linen. They didn't have anything to wear. And the people were like, that's it. Enough is enough. Was 15 days, the last scream of that revolution, in and out, the waves of the revolution, was 15 days before the death of Ramesses III. Now, 1 month, 15 days, 1-5, before his death. Now, do you remember, 1 month ago or so, on the newspaper Al-Akhbar Al-Ahram, there were a picture of a king's, the mummy of a king, who it was saying that due to 2 years of study, it was found out that he was hit by a dagger on the back of his neck.
Yes.
Do you remember that story?
Yes.
Well, that's Ramesses III, who we believe got killed by a conspiracy made by the harem. And that is a very well-known story in our history called the harem conspiracy. Mu'amrat al-Harim, that's how we mentioned. Salim Hassan mentioned it, everybody mentioned it. Shalshila Fam. The lady of the harem, she was not the principal wife. She was one of the harem, one of the secondary wives who wanted her son to become the king. So, she conspires against the king, she convinces people from the palace to join her, to kill the king and put her son as a king, because she knew perfectly well that her son will never reach the throne of Egypt, because she's not the principal wife. She's the secondary wife. Secondary wives, sons does not reach the throne.
I don't know how you're going to relate that to
That is not...
what's going on, but it's a good story.
Ramesses III, did he or did he not? But
we didn't mention here what happened to the protesters. The result.
They were given the first wave and the second wave. So Mencho Mes is passing by. Mencho Mes is the head of police in the west bank of Luxor. He's Minister of Interior, if you like. Mencho Mes, come over, they shout. So Mencho Mes goes to them. What? You're not working today? What's going wrong with you? Did you lose your marbles or what? Did you lose your granite? Not marbles, because there was no marble in ancient. Okay, did you lose your granite? Well, where are our seeds? We didn't get paid seeds. Well, guys, and he gave an order for the workers to be given 48 pies, like as food. Go home, guys, feed your wives, feed your kids, come tomorrow. The protesters did that. See how smart they were? And they took
The pies.
They took the pies, they ate it, they give it to their kids, to their wives. Next morning, we are back. Our seeds. And this which you do not gain all, do not lose all.
If you are smart, you are smarter. And they got the seeds or not? Finally,
They got their seeds.
after the king's, after the pharaoh's death.
No. When the police and the authorities went and talked to them, they got their seeds, they got everything they want, and every time the seeds are late, they protest in front of the temple of the king. They knew ميدان التحرير.
So it became a habit.
It became a habit.
A habit.
They knew the
And
square.
apparently we inherited this habit, and the revolution is
in Tahrir, in the Ramesseum, in Medinat Habo temple. So what I'm trying to say here is stories like that should be taught, right? And should be taught for everybody. One, you teach how authorities deal with people. Two, you teach how people deal with authorities. How to be smart in asking your requests. How to be politically correct. How to be a diplomat. And in other episodes, my dear friends, I will be telling you about ancient Egyptian diplomacy. Ambassadors, foreigners, how they were treated in our country. Were there any idea of using different languages? Were there foreign languages in ancient Egypt? Were there mercenaries in ancient Egyptian armies? How did the ancients deal with the other nations?
It will be soon, because we're very anxious to know about it. So thank you, Bessam, very much for this beautiful edition of A Tour in Egypt. Thank you very much for joining us, and see you next week, same time, same station.
Peace.